Good morning. It's Saturday. I'm in the office. You know what that means. The Saturday morning hustle. The last couple of weeks, I've been telling you about the Saturday morning hustle, how it came from idea to a reality, from a social media post to now the podcast, the video series, the swag, etc., and how you can utilize your own personal passion, something you want to do, startup, career, side hustle, whatever it is, and use it for yourself. Today, I'm going to tell you about a success story. A friend of mine just told me about a passion project of his, a product he developed that is now being successful. He's finding great financial and career success with it. I'm going to explain how that ties into the ideas behind what I've been telling you about the Saturday morning hustle. Also going to have a bonus flashback from 2018 about how to start the new year off right. So we're going to record the podcast now. Here we go. Good morning. It's Saturday. I'm in the office. You know what that means. The Saturday Morning Hustle Podcast, outworking the competition while they're still asleep. Thank you for tuning in again this Saturday. Happy to have you here. We're going to continue the conversation we've had over the last couple of weeks from the beginning of the year about how the Saturday Morning Hustle went from an idea to a brand, to a part of my self brand, and the other aspects of how something goes from idea to finish. And I'm going to back that up with a conversation I had this week with a friend of mine, completely separate. He had a product idea. He developed into a real product, prototyped it, made a product, created something out of it. Now he's been selling it. He's working a deal for production and distribution deal with an investment group. It's going to be successful for him. I'm not going to tell you what the product is or what his name is because I'm not at liberty to do so, but I can tell you the successes he'd had from taking an idea to a product to a business deal because he had passion and drive for it. And we'll also relate to, in a small way, how the Saturday Morning Hustle came from an idea to what it is today, and how you, the person listening to this, person watching the video on YouTube or on Instagram TV, can also take a personal passion of yours, an idea, something you want to do, something you want to achieve, whether it's a product, whether it's a startup, whether it's gaining in your career, side hustle, etc., but how you can adapt these same ideas and the proof of their success become the hard work, the strategy, the starting to beginning, all of that, incorporate it into what you're doing too. So again, idea to product or service, to an MVP, to a reality, to a brand, to a business entity, to a business deal, to success. That's what we're talking about today on the Saturday Morning Hustle Podcast. So start at the beginning. You got to have a great idea, right? Now, it's not enough to have a great idea. You have to do all the other stuff we're going to talk about here in a minute on actual execution of that idea, but it does start with an idea. It's one of two things. Something as no one has ever thought of before, right? The newest version, the new thing, the thing that hasn't been done before, or an adaptation of something that's been done before, a different approach, a different delivery, a different presentation method, some other sort of difference. Now, obviously, you can start a business that's exactly like someone else's business. You can open a pizza restaurant. It's been done before. You can open a donut shop. It's been done before. You can have a co-working space. It's been done before. You still have to find a differentiation, something that sets yourself apart. Typically, it's based on the strengths and weaknesses of your organization. If it's a physical space, if it's recipes you have, if it's a certain aptitude of the people involved, if it's dedication to customer service, past experience, whatever it is, that's fine. Business has to have a differentiation. You have to set yourself apart. So you either have to have a new idea, or you have to have a new version or new approach on an existing idea. You still start with the idea. Now that you think that idea has merit, it has legs, it could go somewhere, it could be valuable, people would pay for it, you could craft a business around it, you develop the idea into an actual product or service. This is the part where we get what's called an MVP, or minimally viable product. That is something where at the very least you could show it to someone else, or show it written down on paper and say this is what it is, and they would understand what it is. They would understand the transaction. Is it a digital download? Is it a physical item? Is it mailed to you? Is you have to pick it up in person? Is it edible? Is it have a shelf life? Does it need to go through a retailer, a wholesaler? All these things come from an MVP, a minimally viable product or service. And today with digital items, there are a lot of things that end up being services. And even whole platform software as a solution is a platform of a service that's a fully digital delivered service to you via a SaaS. So these are all the things that can happen. Anything you're working on right now can be put to these processes. An idea through an MVP, it's tangible, it's easy to explain. You can put the value on it. You can explain the value. Is it sold one time? Is it monthly? Is it a rental? Is it something per click, etc.? Now you have the economic factors. You understand what the cost is to produce it, to distribute it, to do business, retail, wholesale, virtual, online, dropship, whatever it is. You understand the economics of it. You understand what it is. Now you have a name for it. The name, along with a lot of other factors, too deep to get into on this conversation, but the name and everything else becomes the brand. Saturday Morning Hustle is a great example of that. So now you have a brand, because a brand allows you to explain to someone who doesn't know you and doesn't know anything about the product or service if they have value in the product or service and if they want to create a transaction with you or not. And then if they do, and they appreciate it, how they can repeat the transaction, because that comes from brand recognition. So once you have a product, once you have a service, once you have the concept, you can explain it, the simplification and the literal X goes here idea of explaining it to an end consumer as quickly, easily, as simply as possible. That is brand. Your marketing messaging, all the tactics, all the strategy comes from that. The brand based on your product or service, the weakness, the strengths and weaknesses of it, your market position, your differentiation, all the things we just discussed come to your brand. Now you have a brand. Now you can put it into the market, however that you do that. Now that you have a product, if you have a delivery system, if you understand the economics behind it, if you have a transaction that can be repeated, that's a big aspect. If it can be repeated, one-time sales doesn't quite create a business, but repeatable transaction, support for it, etc. Now you have the makings, you have the beginnings, you have the outline, the structure of a business. Having an idea does not make it a product. Having a product does not create a business. Having all of the elements of a business still has to come together into a legal entity that is a business. Now you got to file your LLC or some sort of corporation with your state. You have to get an EIN number. You got to pay taxes. Keep it legal. You have to do all these things that come with financial transactions. You got to get a bank account. You got to get, if it's going to be online, you got to get a processing. If it's going to be in person, you have to have some way to do a credit card or other digital transaction or cash transaction, records, taxes, all the things that come with a legitimate business if that's what you're trying to go for. Obviously, if this is a career path, this is something you've taken back to work to the boss and it's their problem to wrap the business around it. But now, once you get a brand, you can wrap, if you do everything legal and legitimate, a business around the brand. The brand is a continuation of the product. The product is the continuation of the idea. That's how things go. Now you have two options mainly. Run that business, try to create success, try to create profitability, reinvest that profitability, grow the business, develop the business, keep doing that. Or begin to build the business until it attracts the attention of someone who wants to buy the business or buy the product or buy the idea or purchase the brand. And there's some minutia to that, but that's not important to today's conversation. So my friend rings me up and says, hey, been talking to you about this product for a while that I've been developing, and I know all about it. I'm not telling you about it right now. I can just tell you it's a physical product that's sold in a big box store. He's been selling it in limited quantities, in limited big box scenarios as a test market. That's how far he has gotten into this process. And someone who's a bigger player in this space with more money, more resources, more connections, and in more retail spaces came to him and wanted to create an agreement where they would manufacture, distribute, and then the two of them would share in it financially. The details are not important here. That's for his information only. But what he went from an idea that he could do better, a better mousetrap, if you will. He had an idea of something that didn't exist. It was the new idea that we discussed earlier. He had passion for developing this idea into something real. He followed that. He created a product with an MVP and then finally a real product. He prototyped it out, spent time and money. He invested his time and money. Congratulations on him for now being able to recoup that investment. Put his time and money, put his money where his mouth is, created a real product, began the process of building a business entity around that product, developed a brand so it could be explained to retailers. Then the retailers knew who they were doing business with, not as an individual, but a business entity, legally recognized, bank account, transactions, IRS, all the rest of that stuff we've already discussed. And he got into certain retail spaces, test marketing, while still reaching out to other people in the industry, trying to create relationships, trying to build his business or sell it, or create this opportunity for income to come into him from an investment from a partner who is then going to expand his business. And he'll have ownership in a business that has grown and is bigger. Or he still has the option to work this deal out, go on his own way and do something else with his business, work this deal out and sell to that investor or sell it to a third party, whatever it is. The future will hold. Who knows what's going to happen? But point being, he went from an idea to someone now investing in the entity he created because he took the right steps in the right order, didn't cut shortcuts, did things in the right way, followed it with passion, invested his time and his money, and took the risk. And this is another element of business that people don't understand or realize when they see people having successful businesses. Every business, successful or not, begins by someone taking a risk, by investing their time and money in an idea that even if it's an idea that someone else has had, that you're just doing a different version of it, even if it's just another pizza place, another donut shop, another big box retailer, another online service, it doesn't matter if you're taking someone else's model and copying it specifically. You're still taking a risk because there's no guarantee anyone is going to make a connection to what you're doing, find value in it, and pay you for that product or service. So every business, successful or not, comes with starting by taking risk, by making investment of time and money. Nothing happens magic. Remember last couple of episodes we talked about this. Nothing happens quickly, nothing happens overnight, and nothing happens by mistake. Things happen because you work the process, because you follow through, and this process takes a long time. He's been working on this product for years now. It's finally paying off because he had patience. He put the work in. He worked smart. Then he worked hard. We've talked about that plenty of times on this podcast as well. So as you can see, it starts in one place. It ends in completely different places, but it never gets to the point of potential success without starting, having passion, working the process, taking risk, believing in yourself, following through, doing things right, and then getting to a place where you can either manage your business or sell your business or take on a partner or do something else. Or in 2020, you might have had to adapt, adopt, or completely pivot your business because the way you were doing things was completely affected by outside factors that were not your fault. So these are all of the things that go into how something goes from an idea to a product or service, to a brand, to a business entity that then goes on to do whatever it is it's designed to do. You can do the same thing with your side hustle. You can do the same thing with your startup. You can do the same thing in your career path. You can do the same thing on art or music or creativity or something that's never been done before, because again, we're talking about developing something new and presenting it to people, as long as you can find a way to put it in the system of how people exchange funds for products or services, i.e. doing business. So everything comes back to having an idea, creating a structure, working the structure, working the system, sticking with the ideas, being consistent, work smart, work hard, be patient, and eventually, after great risk, the potential for success is there. So when people try to tell you success is easy, that it happens overnight, that just going viral, that just do this one simple thing, just take this one trick, just do this one shortcut that will sell you online for $9.95, whatever the crap it is, it doesn't matter. It's not that easy. It's this process. It's this structured, and it continues down that path. And then it gets into an area where there's no real clear cut This is how it's always done. You have to get into what's best for you as an individual, the people that work for you, the partners involved, the consumer, etc. And it gets really gray in that area. But that's perfectly fine, because at that point now, you understand, you have assets, and you have ways of managing that to make that beneficial for as many people as possible. That is the definition of success, creating an entity that ends up benefiting as many people as possible by doing the right thing. There you go. That's the lesson today. That's the story. That's what I wanted you to know on the Saturday Morning Hustle today. That's the continuation of what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. This is the last Saturday in January. I will see you next week. It'll be February. It'll be 2021. I don't know what I'll be talking about yet, but I hope it'll be interesting. Thank you for hanging on. Thank you for sticking through. I hope you found value in this. Please leave a comment, positive or negative. Hit the thumbs up, hit the heart button, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend, share it on social media, all the great stuff that comes with it. This is the Saturday Morning Hustle. We're in the office on the weekend, out working the competition while they still sleep. We'll see you next time.